Jim Harbaugh and his Chargers, shall we? They went 11-6 last season. Their first under the younger Harbaugh brother, but they were one and done in the playoffs. Remember, they lost by 20 to the Texans, and Justin Herbert had a horrific game. He threw 4 picks. After throwing 3 the entirety of the regular season, it was an absolute disaster. Field, what do you think the ceiling is for this team this season? Now it's year 2 with Herbert and Harbaugh.
Yeah, Hannah, there's a part of me that always defers to treating the Chiefs like a heavyweight boxing champion where you want to be a round too late rather than a round too early to discount them. So I don't think the Chiefs are not going to win the AFC West this year, but I think the Chargers have a chance to get to the top of that division if some things break right. And you hear coaches talk all the time about how players often make their biggest leap from year 1 to year 2. When you're a rookie, you're onboarding so much information, the playbook, like the name of your teammates and your coaches, things that go beyond the X's and the O's. In year 2, you have a chance to really thrive when you're more comfortable. I think the Chargers might have some of that same dynamic in play with year 2 of Jim Harbaugh and his staff and how they want to play the game. If you look back at Jim Harbaugh's various stops as a head coach at both the college and the pro level, University of San Diego, I get it, it's not the LA Chargers, big leap from year 1 to year 2. You go to the San Francisco 49ers. They were great in the first year under Jim Harbaugh, but in year 2, they made it all the way to the Super Bowl where, of course, they played against John Harbaugh's Ravens. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a big leap from the Chargers like we have seen players make that year 1 to year 2 leap.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And their training camp is going to be fun to watch. I think, Field, they might lead the league in position battles heading into training camp. They're looking to figure out who their 2 starting outside corners are going to be. They're looking to see who their 2 starting outside wide receivers are going to be to augment the great slot receiver that they have, Ladd McConkey. They're having competitions at left guard and at center. This is, Joe Ortiz, their GM, and Jim Harbaugh, their head coach, believe that in kind of a play the percentages element of roster building. Let's bring some talented guys in, have them compete with each other, and that'll get the best out of everyone and produce the best possible starting lineup and frankly, bench. So Chargers are building in a very specific way, and they were maybe a year early making the playoffs last year, so definitely dangerous to watch how that all comes together.
Well, and that's actually a key point, that they were ahead of schedule last season with them making the playoffs. And so it really is so interesting to me that anyone could see last season as even close to being a failure, because it got ugly in the playoffs against the Texans. And the Chargers, for the first time, I may have talked about this, I forget, before, but the Chargers, for the first time in Justin Herbert's career, has such levels of continuity with high quality coaching, defensive players, offensive players. Like, he's got a level of continuity from one year to the next that he's never had. And it touches all key aspects: a head coach, and a crucial coordinator, someone on defense, someone on offense, like wherever it may be. And he's never been able to build off of anything. I've definitely talked a little bit about this before, and throughout Justin Herbert's career, he's never really been in a position where he could build off of the success from the previous seasons. And now he finally has that. And that's what I'm so excited to see. And the problem is like, you do get gaslit a lot to believe that Justin Herbert is not that good of a quarterback, or that Harbaugh is not that good of a head coach, or that this defense wasn't that good of a defense, and the O-line wasn't actually that good of an O-line. I mean, like, really, like, we can kind of go down to like all the key aspects of this team. And when you get fed something like that constantly, like, it's your own defense systems start to kind of let things slip through the cracks, and you start to think like, I'm a huge proponent of Justin Herbert, but even I'm just like, is Justin Herbert not as good as I think he is? I keep saying that he's so good, and people in the comment section keep telling me that I'm wrong, and Nick Wright is so confident that he's not good, and Danny Perkins believes in him, and I'm like, I don't know how much I I like to agree with Danny, and I'm like, is he not that? And I'm like, no, he is. He's great. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And it's just like you can start to doubt yourself in that regard. And you're like, yeah, was that playoff? Oh yeah, he did throw a lot of interceptions. It's like, yeah, but don't you remember how the game unfolded? Don't you remember the types of interceptions? And it's like things start to get fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier, and before you know it, you're just like, well, where am I with all of this? And it's just like, then you need to have a reminder of like, no. Like, Justin Herbert is special. Okay. Harbaugh is special. I believe this defense will be special. I mean, they have a great young coach defensively, in Minter, who not only has continuity now with this team, but continuity with Harbaugh, which also matters. That they have that synergy together. And so, yeah, I don't believe that the Chiefs are taking this big step back. I don't believe that. I do believe that the Chiefs are going to be still incredibly competitive, and I just don't think you're ever going to be reliably in positions where you're like, oh, we're going to be able to outcoach Spags and Andy, and that alone in the NFL hurts you significantly, not being able to just be like, oh yeah, we clearly got a coaching advantage here. Like, that alone is just so under discussed in any given moment in the NFL that you're not going to have necessarily. And I do think the Broncos will be good, and I do think that the Raiders will be good. But that's why I think there's some years that you have teams and divisions, and it's more about, it's not how good you're going to be. It's kind of how bad the rest of the competition around is, or how unorganized or how inconsistent they are. I think, over these last however many years, we've seen a lot of teams win, not because of their greatness, more just because it was like, we just have to outlast these other teams because these other teams are just not consistent enough. And we've seen that with the 49ers, with the Ravens, with the Bills. And you're just waiting for everyone else to kind of drown in that regard. I do not think that's the case specifically with this division. It's not a matter of just like, we just have to kind of outlast everyone else. As long as we're just kind of consistent, like, no, I think this will be more about like, well, how great are the Chargers? How big of a step forward do they really take? How consistently great can Justin Herbert and Harbaugh be? How consistently great can Minter have that defense? And can there now, and I always talk about this, like key moments in games. Because that's what it is. When we always point to these great coaches, Bill Belichick, Spags, Andy Reid, Fangio, I'm just trying to use like the most recent ones, McVay, like you have the overall defense, which is run, and our offense that's running at a fine oiled machine, and it's consistent, and you can rely on it and whatnot outside of random outlier games. But it's just like in key moments, I talk about this a lot recently. It's like in key moments, can you point to and say, that was the coach, that was it, that was the moment, that was the game plan, that was the play, that was the design. Oh my goodness, that blitz that Minter dialed up at that crucial aspect, like boom, that was it. The game came. I don't care what anything else happened throughout the game. That was the moment right there. That was the moment. It's like those are the moments that you want to see more and more and more of. And so it's just like, where outside of just the talent and the continuity, where is this big step coming forward? And even if it doesn't, then it is kind of interesting, because then you do have a Harbaugh team where it's just like, we're just gonna run. We're gonna keep the play strong defensive games, limit the risk that Justin Herbert has to take, and we are just gonna kind of just keep leaning on teams and just waiting for them to break. And I think that works well in the regular season, less so in the playoffs in a lot of ways. So it's just, I continue to be, so we're stuck in such an awkward time right now in the NFL, because any of the really interesting things happened with you're still kind of breaking down how last season ended, and then you're kind of going into the draft, and then you have the draft, and then you have a couple of these, you know, camps and whatnot, and so there's like some stuff to discuss, and then now everyone's just kind of in this like holding this like holding room of just like, all right, we got like a month away from like more concrete stuff to talk about, and you know, now we're trying to figure out just like what step forward can the Chargers take, and I think it could be a really big step forward, but it's just, the question to me is how. Because as Danny Perkins said before, he's like, oh, I'm expecting Justin Herbert to, you know, or I know it wasn't even Danny. It was someone on NFL Live where they were talking about, you know, needing to see Justin Herbert be like more explosive. And I was like, I care so much. I care so much less about that, actually. Like that's actually like not what I need to see, and or not what I'm looking for, actually. It's just like, so yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this team can finally evolve, and how Justin Herbert can finally evolve with the continuity that this team, coaching staff, quarterback so desperately needed, and now they finally got it. And so what does it finally look like? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. And it's going to be more than just what we've seen Harbaugh do in years past, because he's not really had a quarterback like Justin Herbert, and he hasn't had a quarterback like Justin Herbert who he should be his quarterback for the next, you know, for the foreseeable future. So that's what makes it kind of a little bit more confusing and also more interesting to me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chargers? And the step, you know, the growth that they can take from year 1 to year 2 with Herbert and Harbaugh, and if you think it's kind of equivalent to kind of a rookie type situation. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.